episode of Natural Pets TV. I'm joined by Heidi Nevala, Dr. Jodie, and Dr. Ken. Thanks for being here. Dr. Jodie, I want to kick things off talking about the eyes.
So our canines are predators. Their eyes are vitally important. This is one of the areas where I think observation on a daily basis is important so that you notice very subtle changes. And as a veterinarian, this is definitely one of the areas where I will commonly do referral if I suspect an eye problem. There are some specialized tests that need to be done in order to make a good Western diagnosis, and sometimes your regular general practitioner doesn't have the ability to do those tests. There's also a common aging change that occurs in the eyes that I always like to mention, because a lot of pet parents worry unnecessarily when they see a little clouding of the eyes, and they're worried that their dog is getting a common cataract problem, and it's really something we call nuclear sclerosis, which is a normal aging change of the lens. The eyes look cloudy, but when the doctor uses the ophthalmoscope, the light penetrates fine, and you can see that brilliant, beautiful fundus in the back of the eye just fine. But unless you do that little test, you really don't know. So I always like to, with the eyes, emphasize the importance of doing the diagnostics and never letting anything go at all. You really need to get on top of that right away. The eyes are so important because not only are they sort of the window to the soul, but they're also the window to the liver in the Oriental Asian kind of philosophy. Every organ has an orifice associated with it. The ears are the windows to the kidney, and commonly older dogs will become deaf and have kidney disease. And you will often have a pet with really red, on fire eyes, and it will turn out that they have heat in the liver, causing them a liver detoxification type of a problem. So from our holistic perspective, we really use our observation of the eyes a lot in helping us make a diagnosis.
Oh, absolutely. And we can even go further if we even think about Western diagnosis, because we can see changes in the retina of the eye that are suggestive of fungal infections. We can see the prominence of the vessels in the retina of the eye that suggest increases in blood pressure, or we can see inclusions in the iris or the cornea. The iris being the colored part of the eye, the cornea being the clear part of the eye, that are suggestive of other things. And we can even oftentimes diagnose cancer extremely early by looking at the eyes, because that will be a location for many of the tumors to begin. Lymphoma being one of those that we all are aware of. And then also, you know, expanding on what you said, even though your dog's eyes are graying, even though there's these geriatric changes, one of the things you want to be attuned to is the clarity of the lens. And when you look at your dog, is there a radiance and a clarity to their corneas? Because if they start losing that, then you know there's a problem with either what you're feeding them or their health.
Mm-hmm. And dogs do get glaucoma.
Exactly.
And they need to have that intraocular pressure measured in order to know they have that. And if you intervene soon enough, there are some really great conventional eye drops, easy medication to maintain that. Right. Otherwise, they can actually lose the globe of their eye.
What about natural treatments for the eye?
This is one of my favorite topics, just because there's one of the herbs I favor to use when this condition's been diagnosed is an herb called camu camu. And it's a dynamic superfood. It's an adaptogen. It's got an alterative function. But the reason it's so important with eye health is it's got the carotenoids that are necessary, the lutein, the zeaxanthin, the astaxanthin, mouthfuls to say those. But those they filter the light. They are nutritional support. They run interference from free radical damage and other oxidative damage. But not only that, it naturally not only stimulates collagen production, but the actual tissues, the health pathways to the eye itself and all of the function, including the lens and the macula. So it's a really dynamic herb in this case that you can use. It's also extremely nutritive. not only does it have the primary metabolites, like you're mentioning, the vitamins, the minerals, the flavonoids, the digestive enzymes, the fatty acids, amino acids, but it also has the secondary metabolites for the antifungal, the antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and those defense-building issues that might come up in eye health. So, and it's also wonderfully nutritional to be adding to your pet's diet as well. It's water and fatty soluble. So just, no matter what you're feeding, it's a good complement, and it's has a direct affiliation to the liver. So in a traditional medical system, whenever there's an eye issue, you're going in South American traditional medicine, you'll use something like camu camu along with a hepatoprotective product like an artichoke, or depending on the severity of it. So you can detox not only nutritionally feed the eye health, but then detox the liver, because they're compatible, or they're interrelated. And
you mentioned a lot of those things that are that people might recognize as natural antioxidant type properties.
Exactly.
And even the conventional ophthalmologists are now prescribing nutraceutical products, but they tend to be a little bit more along the lines of synthetic antioxidants. Some people have a little bit of a fear of overusing synthetic antioxidants. So I too, one of my favorites to go the more natural realm of that is goji berries. And a lot of the very potent antioxidant juices. And the animals can have that. You can put a little bit of those goji berry type juices in with their food, and a lot of times they really love that.
Yeah, and even some others like fish oil that's rich in DHA, and DHA is used extensively by the retina of the eye and the nerves that go from the retina to the brain. And something as simple as carrots with their vitamin A, which is also an antioxidant. Blended and added to their diet can improve the eye health of dogs as well, and cats.
Another common eye problem is KCS, or dry eye.
Right.
And sometimes that doesn't get recognized because the symptom that is seen is goopy eye. And it's actually because their eyelids are basically scraping like sandpaper on their cornea because they don't have tear production. And that is something that can develop secondary sometimes to different medication use, but it can also be something that develops as a congenital problem. And I like to here kind of start thinking about food energetics. When we see those dry red eyes, that can be because of too much heat in the body. And if you have a lot of heat, well, you don't want to add heat to it. And so like cinnamon, you touch it, it doesn't feel warm, but it gives you this warming sensation when you eat it. So there's meat proteins that are like that too. So we generally put chicken, lamb, and venison in this hot meat category. And then there's the more cooling ones. In general, duck and fish are more cooling. Beef is more neutral. So if you think about the way common pet foods are, many of them are chicken-based. And the more processed the food is, energetically, the hotter it is. So I think a lot of our dogs are being chickened to death. This hot chicken, and then they're getting these red eyes and dry eye and, dry skin, dry coat. And so we can again manipulate some of these imbalances, even with the eyes, by manipulating the diet and bringing in less processed food and cooler types of foods. We can do some cooling and damp draining, even with a vegetable like celery. It's very cooling and damp draining.
And expanding on that and what you'd mentioned about lenticular sclerosis, many pet parents don't realize that the development of the lens in yourselves and your dogs is independent of your immune system. So the immune system senses if the proteins inside the lens are exteriorized as foreign objects. And so what happens when animals age and they get this lenticular sclerosis that Dr. Jodie talked about, we get a leakage of the proteins from the inner part of the lens into the eye, which sets off this red inflammation of the eye in these older animals. And this recommendation for the feeding would certainly aid those changes as well.
And the fish oil that you mentioned, that's natural anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
Yep.
So as you've just heard, the eyes are not only the window to their wonderful souls, but also to their health. Make sure you're keeping an eye on things. It's truly important for their overall health. Thanks for joining us here on Natural Pets TV. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. It's a lot of fun, a lot of information, and we want to keep the dialogue going. Let's do that in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe because we've got a whole season of great episodes, great topics, and great guests. If you want to learn more about our guests here for Heidi Nevala, you can do that at naturapets.com. For Dr. Jodie, it's drjodiesnaturalpets.com. And for Dr. Ken, it's thewelldog.com. You can always reach out to us at petworldinsider.com and all of the social media channels at Pet World Insider. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.